In recent years, Africa has emerged as a new frontier in the space race, attracting significant interest from global powers, particularly China and the United States. Now, this rapid development of space programs across the African continent poses a critical question. Should the United States be deeply concerned about China's growing influence in African space initiatives? And the answer is a resounding yes, as this influence presents multifaceted challenges that threaten American strategic interests, economic opportunities, and national security. Today, I will talk about three main concerns: the strategic advantages that China gains through its partnerships in Africa, the potential for increased military collaboration between African nations and China, and the economic implications of this growing influence. And each of these points underscores why the United States must be proactive in addressing this situation. And to understand the implication of China's involvement in African space programs, we must recognize the historical context. For the past 2 decades, China has expanded its engagement with African nations, investing heavily in infrastructure, technology, and education. According to the African Development Bank, Chinese investments in Africa reached to approximately $200 billion by 2020, covering a wide range of sectors, including telecommunications, agriculture, and now space technology. This engagement has been marked by initiatives like the China Africa Cooperation Forum and the establishment of the African Union Space Program, which China both supports financially and technologically. And so this leads me to my first major concern. For the United States, the strategic advantage that China gains through its partnerships with the African nations in space technology. As countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa develop their own space capabilities, they often turn to China for expertise and resources. For instance, the successful launch of Nigeria's communication satellite was facilitated by China's National Space Administration, showcasing how deeply intertwined Africa's space programs have become with Chinese technology. This relationship grants China enhanced access to critical satellite data that can be used for everything from military applications to economic surveillance, enabling China to monitor its geopolitical rivals and assert its influence over resource rich regions. Moreover, this growing partnership directly impacts the United States' interests in Africa. The United States has long viewed Africa as a continent rich in natural resources and economic potential. However, China solidifies its presence in the region. The United States risks losing its traditional foothold. For example, the African space policy, which many countries are beginning to adopt, may increasingly reflect China's standards and regulations, sidelining U.S. interests. The United States must contend with the reality that Africa could become a new arena for geopolitical competition, with China's position to leverage its space capabilities and to enhance its influence in the region. The second pressing concern lies in the potential for increased military collaboration between African nations and China. The technological advancements that made this possible by Chinese investments in the space program could pave the way for the development of advanced military capabilities across the continent. For example, satellite imagery is crucial for military planning and logistics. Should African nations develop these capabilities with Chinese support, it could lead to an increase in regional conflicts, necessitating U.S. intervention and straining resources. Additionally, this scenario raises alarm for regarding cybersecurity as African nations become more reliant on Chinese technology for their space programs, as they may inadvertently expose themselves to cyber vulnerabilities. In a digital landscape dominated by Chinese companies like ZTE, the risk of espionage increases significantly. The US has already flagged these companies as potential security threats due to their close ties with the Chinese government. If African nations adopt Chinese technology for the space operations, the repercussions could extend to U.S. cybersecurity interests. Sensitive data can be intercepted, and American companies could face increased risks in their dealings with African nations that have adopted these technologies. The economic implications are equally as concerning as China invests in African space programs and its capabilities. The potential for job creation and economic growth is substantial. However, this often comes at the expense of US business and we can otherwise benefit from other opportunities. For instance, the establishment of satellite communication systems in Africa could lead to a decreased demand for American satellite services, further eroding U.S. market share in the sector that has historically been a stronghold for American companies. This shift not only impacts the profitability of U.S. businesses, but also threatens American leadership in space technology. Lastly, China's expanding influence in African space programs may shift in global governance structures. As China strengthens its partnerships with African nations, it could foster a bloc that challenges U.S. leadership in international organizations, such as the UN or the International Telecommunication Union. The establishment of an African bloc aligned with its Chinese interests could result in a more polarized global landscape, but also raises questions about the future of global cooperation on pressing issues like climate change and security. In conclusion, the United States must be deeply concerned about China's growing influence in African space programs. The strategic advantages that China gains through its partnerships with Africa pose significant challenges to U.S. interests, including national security, economic competitiveness, and global governance. Thank you.